Madras High Court has said that if a son or a daughter goes back on the promise of taking care of their parents, they could lose the property received from them, sounding warning bells for children taking property from their mother or father and then abandoning them in old age. The property would mean not just immovable assets, but also deposits or jewelry or whatsoever that would have been transferred. The context of this case: the judge, while allowing a widow's petition under the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007, directed her married daughter to return her share of FDs of 1.5 crore rupees along with jewelry she had taken from her mother after her father's death. The court rejected the argument made by the daughter, and this is important because the daughter argued that her mother was receiving a family pension and was being taken care of by her son, and thus does not need any maintenance from her, being the daughter. Now, why is this such a big issue? While India has the highest number of young people, aging is rapidly progressing. The currently elderly population of 153 million is expected to reach a staggering 347 million by 2050, and this is 60 years and above. This demographic shift is not merely a statistic, it's a societal transformation of unparalleled magnitude with far-reaching implications, according to UNFPA. In India, the loss of financial security is deeply witnessed, with 40% of elderly being in the poorest wealth quintile, and social cultural mindsets and norms that label the elderly as a burden. Elderly abuse, as well as lack of comprehensive safety nets, increase the vulnerability of older individuals manifold. Well, I'm going to be joined at this point by Aditya Pratap, who's an advocate, as well as I'm going to be joined shortly by Swayamprabha Saraswati, who's a legal advisor for Little Seeds NGO. Thank you very much, Aditya Pratap, for joining us. Aditya, break this down for us. So, couple of important points here. One, it's the married daughter who's saying, I don't need to be taking care of my mother financially, or she doesn't need my help financially. One, because she's being taken care of by her son and she has a family pension. That itself has so many layers to really talk about, Aditya.
Absolutely. See, what are we looking at here? We are looking at the case of a daughter who presumably has received property from her elderly senior citizen parents. And now, after receiving the property, they are saying, oh, the son is good enough to take care of you. Well, the point is simple. The law is not concerned whether the son or the daughter or some relative is capable to take care of the concerned senior citizen or not, because the Maintenance and Welfare of Senior Citizens Act of 2007 provides a strong, foolproof legal mechanism for ensuring that the rights and the life of a senior citizen are protected, that a senior citizen is well taken care and looked after for, even after they've gifted the property to their children. Because see, children, when a senior citizen gives property to a child, it's a very big thing. Now let us look at what Section 23 of the Maintenance and Welfare of Senior Citizens Act says. Section 23 says, transfer of property to be void in certain circumstances, where any senior citizen and who after the commencement of this act has transferred by way of gift or otherwise his property is subject to the condition that the transferee shall provide the basic amenities and basic physical needs, and where he fails to provide, the said transfer shall be. So as you can
Okay.
A deed of gift cannot be revoked.
We seem to have some technical issue at this point. Okay, Aditya, I think we are back with you at this point. There was some audio glitch. So, Aditya, essentially 2 points. One, irrespective of marital status, the son as well as daughter have equal responsibility to take care of the parents. That's also quite in contravention with how the cultural and social norms really are, both vis-a-vis parents as well as children.
Absolutely. In fact, what were the old cultural norms? अरे बेटी पराया हो जाती है, बेटी शादी के बाद दूसरे घर में चली जाती है. So then the daughter would say, अरे मैं तो दूसरे घर में आ गई हूँ, I'm under no obligation to take care of you. The point is, if you feel that you've become
Essentially,
pariah and
that's
gone to the
exactly
husband's
what the
house,
daughter in this particular case has argued.
but then the point is very simple. You know, you cannot blow hot and blow cold. On one hand, you are saying that because you have married and gone into the husband's house, you're under no obligation to take care of your parents. But then why did you take property from your parents then? With every right comes a corresponding duty. You cannot blow hot and blow cold. You cannot take all the property from your parents by way of gift, receive it, and then when it comes to the reciprocal obligation of taking care of them, you say, no, I've married and gone into my in-laws' house. Law does not work that way. With every right, there's a corresponding duty, and Section 23 of the Maintenance and Welfare of Senior Citizens Act has very aptly, you know, sort of impose a restriction on common property law by saying that even a transfer or gift of property in such circumstances will be void if the beneficiary of the gift, the child,
Okay.
fails to take care of the senior citizen. Yes.
Okay, I'm also being joined at this point by Swayamprabha Saraswati. Thank you very much. Good evening. You work with an NGO that takes care of elderly people. Ms. Saraswati, how critical is this issue before us? As you deal with so many elderly people as part of your work, how much of a challenge is even the elderly people who otherwise would have come with good financial assets, say a career of their own, quite struggling towards their post 70s 80s with lack of financial help for that matter. How real is this in India?
See, I have seen this old age issues very clearly, I must say. Being the part of that NGO, we are working with them, and we have been in a very, close circumstances, what they are exactly feeling. I would tell that, the parents grow both the children, whether that be a boy, whether that be a girl, in a very equal manner. So they must expect at this point of age that they must be treated by both of them equally. So I'm very well happy with this Madras High Court judgment. What they have made that because you cannot only ask for your rights. You should also go for your duties. So this is a thing which I would like Madras High Court has emphasized upon a lot. So and in this way there will be and now the things have
Okay.
changed. The daughter and the son, both of them, the men and the women, both of them are working properly. So this will be well executed in this society which is going on. So thank you for the asking such a question
Right.
because I'm very close to elderly
Right,
people.
Miss Saraswati, no, I get it. Miss Saraswati, here's another aspect to it. And the truth is, irrespective of your gender, you have an obligation, you have a right, and you have a duty to ensure that your parents are taken care of emotionally, financially, physically. Finances is not the only part, an important part nonetheless. But here's the question, Miss Saraswati, while that no one should take that away, do parents, particularly, even in today's times, do parents see children, irrespective of gender? What I mean to say is, sons and daughters, do they see them equally when they are talking about their inheritance and property?
Uh, I would tell because things will take some more time to change. The law has come
Hmm.
for this, for this generation and for these, but the parents who are there from long back, so they still think they have the mentality that yes, agar meri death hogi to mera beta hi karm kand karega and all that, and all those things. So what I feel
It's
personally
changing,
right now,
surely, but
it's changing, but it has not changed. Still, there are parents who do not think that, they are not in much favor of that the daughter should inherit their property. So, to be very honest, to be very truthful, if it's a middle
right.
class family, till and that the daughter has to go and approach कि मुझे मेरा चाहिए, and but they expect that point कि they will leave for their brothers. So this is the current scenario which I would say that happens in 85% of the family, I must say, in the middle class or whatever higher class, whatever it is.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay, Aditya Pratap, if I can get you in at this point, there are so many layers to this, but there's another part, and that is the part of a living will. Now, even while you're alive, you can really make a will that is legally tenable, that is allowed by law. Um, what advice would you give to the elderly? How should they proceed this? Because many people would say that, they've given it away to their children, but their children are not taking care of it. This is something that we hear so often, and not necessarily because children don't want to take care of them, but it's also in a country where almost 40% of youngsters, particularly at a particular age, say after 25, between 25 and 30, most of them are leaving for abroad, are going and working abroad. So distance plays a big role in being able to reach back home whenever they are required, so on and so forth. There are lots of angles to this. But what would be your advice to the elderly who are watching you at this point?
Well, my advice first and foremost to senior citizens would be that don't give away your property while you are alive. As simple as that. People will talk about living will, they will talk about so many things. I believe in, and of course it is recognized, but I believe in tried and tested legal instruments like a normal will. For instance, okay, you drop a normal will, what you can do is you very early while you're alive, you drop your will, affirm it, properly, get the certificate of, do all the legal formalities, define who will get what, make the division of property very clear about what will happen after your demise, and then circulate the will to all the concerned beneficiaries and legatees, and at the same time get it registered, even though registration of a will is optional. In my opinion, so far as you are alive, you maintain your control over your respective and properties and assets. If a child comes and asks you for some money, give it. If the child requests to stay in your house, let him stay in your house. See, don't, I'm not saying leave children to their fate. Today's world is expensive. Today's world is competitive. Today's children need some parental support. So parents should provide in the came of
I
food,
think
housing,
I
shelter.
think in today's India, I'm not talking about the West or anything, but in today's India, you still would not have parents who would leave children to their own. If
No, no,
required, they
and they should
always
not.
would be there. The question is how
See,
many really get the support from their own children.
See, the point is simple that obviously we are unfortunately becoming a value deficient society. But as far as parents are concerned, first and foremost is that if your children are with you, at least don't give them everything on a platter. Give them food, shelter, a basic sustenance,
Right.
fine. But do not give them a largesse. Do not execute gift deeds and hand them over possession of property. Otherwise, even to get it back, you will have to go to senior citizens tribunal. Rather, write a will, circulate it to all your legal heirs. And because remember, when a will is properly registered, etc., then the scope for challenge becomes very narrow. The scope for challenge becomes very narrow. Even after the senior citizen passes away, the concerned legatees can approach the concern, because all those people with a cavatable interest, whatever, I mean, the legatees, they can approach the concerned civil court or the original
Right.
court, and they can get the will probated. They can get the will probated.
Right.
So that
Okay.
is why,
Last question to you, Miss.
you know,
Right. I get it. I get.
yes.
Right. Ms. Swayamprabha Saraswati, my last question to you. Do you see instances where, in your experience, have you come across couples where they possibly have had decent careers themselves, they've brought families together, they've earned themselves well, uh, they have given off their property to their children, handed over their property and their future, their assets to their children, and they've been quite left to themselves. Have you come across cases like this increasingly?
Yes, yes, sure. When I'm attached to this NGO and Little Seeds, and I'm attached to these people, and I usually visit to Vridhashram as well. So these instances are very common because parents are selfless and they are going to give everything to their children, and they want that till they are alive, they can give as much as they can deliver to their children. But at last, they are end up begging outside the Vridhashram. That scene I have, that's a very.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Aditya Pratap, and thank you very much, Swayamprabha Saraswati, for joining us with these perspectives. Very unsettling conversations, but important conversations to have. Thank you very much. It's time for a very short break. On the other side, news and updates.